Let me tell you about a study that stopped me in my tracks. Researchers compared household savings rates across developed economies. The United States came in at roughly 3 to 4% of household income saved on average. Germany, around 11%. South Korea, around 8%. And Japan? Japan's household savings rate has historically ranged between 15 and 25%, with some periods reaching even higher. And this isn't because Japanese salaries are higher than American ones. In many sectors, they are actually lower when adjusted for purchasing power. So the question that's been nagging at me, and I think should be nagging at you, is what do Japanese households know about money that most Americans were simply never taught? Because here's the thing, the answer isn't one thing. It's a system, a philosophy, a set of money rules that have been quietly operating in Japanese households for generations, keeping consumer debt rates dramatically lower than the US, building savings buffers that absorb economic shocks, and creating a financial resilience that most American households simply don't have. Today, I'm going to break down the core Japanese money rule and the 4 principles that surround it, that keep 99% of the people who practice it completely out of debt, with real math, with the psychology behind why it works, and with a clear framework for implementing it starting this week. My name is Yang and I cover crypto, personal finance, and money systems from around the world that actually work on this channel. If this kind of content helps you, subscribe and hit the like button below. Let's get into the Japanese money philosophy. Before the rules, the data that frames everything. The same planet, dramatically different outcomes, and the difference isn't luck, GDP, or government policy alone. It's cultural financial philosophy, passed down through generations in the form of specific, actionable money rules. Here's what most people don't realize about the American savings crisis. The US personal savings rate collapsed from approximately 15% in the 1970s to under 4% by the mid-2000s, and has largely stayed there. That collapse tracks almost perfectly with the rise of consumer credit, the expansion of retail financing, the cultural normalization of buying things you haven't saved for yet. America didn't always have a savings problem, it developed one. And it developed it through the systematic dismantling of the exact principles the Japanese financial philosophy preserved. So let's talk about those principles, starting with the one that sits at the foundation of everything else. Kakeibo Household Financial Ledger. Created in 1904, conscious spending through written reflection. Kakeibo is not a budgeting app, it's not a spreadsheet, it's not a subscription service. It is a handwritten monthly practice, and it is the foundational money rule that underlies Japan's savings culture. Here's how it works. At the start of every month, Kakeibo asks 4 questions. How much do I have? How much do I want to save? What am I spending and on what? How can I improve next month? That's it. 4 questions, written by hand, answered honestly, reviewed monthly. And here's a psychological insight that makes it work, because this is where it gets really interesting. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that writing something by hand creates a cognitive engagement that typing into an app simply does not replicate. When you write your spending by hand, your brain processes it as more real, more consequential, more emotionally significant than a number on a screen. This is why budgeting apps, despite their sophistication, have a notoriously poor track record at changing your actual spending behavior. The friction of handwriting is a feature, not a bug. It forces the moment of conscious reflection that automated systems bypass entirely. The 4 Kakeibo spending categories: the needs, wants, culture, and expected. What makes this categorization powerful is the culture category, which most Western budgeting systems completely omit. Kakeibo separates spending that enriches your life intellectually from pure consumption spending. No guilt for growth, full clarity on impulse. Principle number 1 is the Ikigai filter. Does this purchase serve my real purpose or fill a temporary gap? This is not philosophical. It's a practical pause between impulse and transaction. The average American makes 5 impulse purchases per month at $143 each. That's $8,580 per year spent without a single moment of genuine reflection. The American retail environment is engineered to eliminate that pause. One-click purchasing, buy now, pay later, flash sales, every mechanism compresses the time between impulse and transaction to zero. The Ikigai filter expands it back, 30 seconds of reflection, one honest question, thousands of dollars saved annually. Principle number 2 is the motainai. What a waste, moral weight against unnecessary waste. Most Americans absorb a consumer belief so deeply they don't recognize it as a belief. That newer is better, that replacing is easier than repairing, and that value comes from acquisition rather than stewardship. Motainai is the direct philosophical opposite. Here's a financial math that makes motainai concrete. $320 saved per repair decision, 3 repair decisions per year, that's nearly $1,000 kept in your pocket. From a philosophy that treats your existing possessions as worth protecting rather than worth replacing. The psychological force working against this in America is what economists call the Indama effect reversal. Consumer culture trains you to devalue what you already own and overvalue what you don't have yet. Motainai reverses that training deliberately. Principle number 3 is hara-hachi-bu. You may have heard hara-hachi-bu apply to eating, the Okinawan practice of stopping at 80% full. What's less discussed is how the same principle applies directly to spending. The hara-hachi-bu for money: never spend 200% of your capacity, which means that here's what most people don't realize about this principle. It's not about deprivation, it's about structural buffer. The 20% isn't a sacrifice, it's the difference between a financial life that has room to breathe and one that shatters at the first unexpected expense. The American default is the opposite: spend 100%, finance the rest, pay interest on the gap. Japan's default is spend 80%, save the rest, let compounding do the work. Principle number 4 is the ma, or the power of financial space. The final principle is the most philosophical and the most countercultural for an American audience. Ma means the Japanese concept of negative space, the meaningful pause, the intentional gap. In architecture, ma is the empty space that gives a room its character. In music, ma is the silence between notes that gives the melody its meaning. In personal finance, ma is the space between earning and spending. Financial ma, a deliberate waiting period before every significant purchase. The most destructive financial decisions happen in the absence of ma. The impulse buy, the panic sell, the emotional investment, the revenge spending after a hard week. All of them collapse the space between stimulus and response to zero. Research consistently shows that 60 to 70% of impulse purchases are abandoned when a waiting period is introduced. Apply ma to your current impulse spending. That's $6,006 per year stays in your account from one behavioral rule that costs nothing to implement. Here's the thing about everything I just showed you. None of it is complicated. None of it requires an app, a subscription, a financial advisor, or a high income. Every single principle on this list has been practiced by ordinary Japanese households across every income level for generations. And the result is a culture where consumer debt is dramatically lower, savings rates are higher, and financial anxiety, while not absent, sets at a fundamentally different baseline than what most Americans experience. The reason these principles work isn't that Japanese people are wired differently, it's that they were given a different set of rules, a different default, a different relationship with money that treats it as a tool for intentional living rather than a resource to be consumed as fast as it arrives. You now have those rules, all 5 of them. The implementation cost is $0. The time to start is today. If this gave you a different way of thinking about your money, hit the like button below. Subscribe for weekly content on global money systems, personal finance, and wealth building. And drop a comment below. Which of the 5 Japanese principles are you implementing first? And what's the one spending habit you're changing this week? I read every single comment. See you next time. Bye!